Good evening, board members, Superintendent Hanlon, and those in the audience, public community members. Thank you for attending the second budget hearing of the Board of Education of Wycomico County for fiscal year 2017-2018's operating budget. As mentioned, this is the second budget hearing, and with that, I'd like to review some of the key budget dates that have already passed and to bring to the public exactly what the process has been to date. On March the 14th, the Board of Education adopted the proposed budget, and on the 15th submitted that budget in accordance with state law to the county executive. On April the 13th, the county executive held a public budget hearing. On April the 15th, the county executive delivered his budget to the county council. On May the 2nd, as a result of actions taken by the legislature, predominantly, the board amended their budget and delivered that to the county executive and the county council on May the 2nd. And we're going to go over some of the reasons as to why the board amended that budget. I thought it'd be appropriate to spend what little time I want to spend, since we're here to hear from the public, to kind of go over why we amended that budget. And then on May the 8th, staff and the Board of Ed reviewed the amended budget with the county executive and county council. And then tonight we're here for the second public hearing. Why did we amend that budget? Well, as I mentioned, there were several actions taken as a result of the legislative session that resulted in additional resources for the Board of Education of Wycomico County. Also, we're projecting a reduction in the number of students in non-public placements. Those are special ed students who are placed in non-public schools as a result of approval by the state. Also, as a result of final negotiations with our healthcare provider, Care First, we had a reduction that saved us healthcare dollars, and now the superintendent recommended to the board that there be some adjustments as a result of those savings. And we're going to go over those. Right here are the actions that the board took on May the 2nd to amend the budget. Number one, due to the nature of those additional funds being one time, the board agreed and voted to utilize the funds on capital expenditures as opposed to recurring items. So $1.7 million was approved by the board to be used to relocate the Choices program from its current location on the campus of West Salisbury Elementary. So that is what is in the budget amended on May the 2nd. Then, due to the savings of about $95,000 from our health care negotiations that I was talking about a few seconds ago, superintendent recommended and the board adopted the hiring of an additional reading intervention teacher, which brings the total to 4 in this FY18 operating budget, 4 additional reading intervention teachers, and additional $32,200 to expand the employee assistance program. And as you know, that's the program that Mr. Vince Pavick will be implementing to help with issues that many of our employees are facing. In summary, we have a presentation here that shows the total adjustments to revenue, and then, as you know, we have to balance our budget with the expenditure side. Total adjustments to expenditures, $1.647 million, $1.647 million. We have a balanced budget, and as mentioned, those expenditure adjustments were to the categories capital outlay, the $1.7 million for the property acquisition and construction related to the relocation of the Choices program from the West Salisbury campus, the adjustment downward for the projected reduction in the number of placements, non-public placements of 70,000. And then the savings from health insurance being realigned to hire an additional reading intervention teacher and expanding the employee assistance program. What remaining dates are key to this budget? First, on June the 6th, it has been advertised that the County Council will hold their last hearing on the budget and adopt the budget at that time, their county budget for FY18. And then at this moment, the board has, for June the 13th, plans to adopt the final operating budget for FY18 for the Board of Education. How can the public provide input between now and June the 13th to the Board of Ed? Well, there's a couple ways. Obviously, speak at tonight's session. Email suggestions at comments@wcboe.org. We have a public input line that people can call 410-677-5251. Obviously, by snail mail or Facebook and Twitter. So, with that, I'm going to turn it over back to you, Mr. Fitzgerald.
Okay, we have a few people from the public here. Does anyone want to comment on it? Okay, Mary Ashanti, I see you're first on the sign-up sheet, so welcome, and you can go to the podium over to my right.
Always thanking God for the opportunity to be anywhere, and to Superintendent, President of the board, and all those assembled. My name is Mary Ashanti, and good evening.
Good evening.
Since it's not always good to bring bad news or say negative things, let me just say I looked at having a total of 4 reading intervention teachers as a great thing. It's always great to have employee assistance program, so I want to commend you for that. I do have some questions or concerns about choices. And my question is, will the $1.7 million include an increase in staff, especially those staff that have a specialty in behavior intervention? I'm not sure how many social workers or psychologists is dedicated to choices, but there needs to be a full-time social worker and psychologist to choices. From my understanding and from what I've seen, there's a lot of challenges. The children that are there because there are a lot of challenges, so we want for them to be helped while they're there and not for choices to be just a place to put them. So that's one concern that we have, and we like to see the money used for that. Basically, I think I've sent an email in, and I'll try to remember what I said, but I sent an email in reference to the budget. I don't have it in front of me. We always concern, one of the things that concern us is that we need teachers to teach. We don't want their time being used to do what social workers or someone else can do. We don't want their time to be used trying to track parents down or call parents. We want them to have classroom time and then other time to plan. But those other duties, we like to see someone else do those. So we always want teachers to have their time to do teaching, and we want them not to have to buy school supplies. We want the Board of Education in the school system to supply whatever that's needed. If the community need to help, then we need to know that. But I don't think educators should be spending their money for those reasons. Other than that, I think I've sent an email into Dr. Hanlon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
And next, we have Joan Smith.
Good evening. I'm Joan Smith, president of Wicomico County Education Association, and I'm hoping that you will, I know you will, support students and educators. After all, our students are our primary responsibility, and I thank Mary Ashanti for her kind words for educators. That includes the support staff as well as our teachers and our administrators. I'm hoping that with the new money that's come available, that some of that money, in addition to having another position for reading interventionists, which is very much needed, that some of that money will be reinvested in our primary investment, our teachers, and our support staff. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have on the sign-up sheet. Does anyone else want to speak? Mr. Dishroom.
All good?
That's unusual for you. You're lost for words tonight. Do you have anything?
I do not have anything to add. Just thank the public for their input along the way, including tonight. Thank you, Mrs. Ashanti, for coming. And Mrs. Smith, who I know had to get over to Y-High's awards ceremony. Thank you to the board for working collaboratively with staff and Mr. Ford and his team for pulling together what I believe is a very a budget that supports the vision moving forward and does support teachers and students. So look forward to a very positive response from the county as we look to the future.
And I want to say thank you also, but we have two gentlemen sitting up here with us. This is our last budget meeting. And they spent 10 years on this board trying to get the most money for our students. And I would like to thank both of them for their service over that period of time. I've been fortunate to work with them for 8 of those 10 years. So.
Don, I'd just like to say that we desperately need your support right now with the county council in terms of our one-time funding request. It's my understanding that right now is the time that they are looking at some funds that may have just become available to them. And we have pleaded with them that we get one-time funding for computer carts desperately needed in all of our schools, as well as some help with our school security issues. That is money that is desperately needed and can be put to work right away if we get it. And we will only get it if the council agrees to use some funds that they may have for our one-time funding request. And I know somebody's probably saying he's a broken record because he says that over and over again, but I will keep saying it because I believe so strongly in our needs, and if we are not going to get extra funding beyond maintenance of effort, this is the only way we can get some additional dollars to help with the requests that we as a board have heard over and over again from students, from parents, and from administrators of the schools. So I am asking all of you to send a note to County Council. Words from you sometimes carry a lot more weight than words from us, it seems. So we've pleaded, and now if you will help us plead for those additional funds to be used for education and one-time funding, all of us around this table would be most appreciative. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Just briefly, I would like to also support what like I said, Dr. Willie, Lord have mercy, what Mr. Willie is stating, and I'm not going to beat the horse to death, but it's going to take a collective effort for us to get the kinds of things that we need to have for the public school system. And unfortunately, the way society is, money drives just about everything we do. So we have to have that collective voice. We need you to speak with a loud voice and speak with us and not against us for what we're trying to do. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about providing services for our children. When we talk about our children from ages 3 through 18 in a perfect world. So we have to, as the word says, cry loud and spare none. We have to do that. And as a side note, thank you for your kind comments for the 10 years that Mr. Willie and I have spent on this board. It went by real fast for me. It did not go so fast for my wife, nor my children.
Nor mine.
But I thank you.
You're very welcome. Anybody else? Well, ladies and gentlemen, this must be a record for a budget session, but if nobody has any other comments, meeting adjourned.